thank all of you for joining this morning. This is an exciting one as well today because we're doing a sneak peek of an upcoming release. In the past, we haven't necessarily done this, but this is exciting because 3.6 has been a little bit longer to be released than we typically release our iPad releases. So we are excited to sort of give a little bit of a preview of what's coming in this 3.6 release. So before we get started and before we kind of jump into today, you will notice that next to your name, if you are logged in on the computer, you will notice that there is a red microphone or a red telephone next to your name. And that is there on purpose. Everyone currently is muted, and that's just to sort of keep background noise to a minimum so we can go to get through this and I have time to answer any questions that you might have about what we're about to discuss. But with that said, I do want to hear any questions that you have. So there is a chat box. If you are using the GoToMeeting panel in your web browser, it'll look like a little chat bubble. If you're using the GoToMeeting control panel on your sidebar, there'll be just a little drop down that says chat. Make sure you leave any questions that you have there and make sure they're visible to everybody so that at the end of this, we can get to any questions that we might have. So let's just jump into what we're going to cover today. So what exactly have we been working on in this 3.6 release, right? Like I mentioned, this one's been a longer release cycle. And while we have a lot coming out in this iPad release, we're really focused on deficiencies and mostly the part 2 of our deficiencies update. A few releases back, we did update the deficiencies and how they're linked on the iPad, how they're visible on the iPad to the technician. But this really, we expanded on that. And with that, there's more information and cues in the field. And I'm going to show you all of this. So what I mean by those cues and the information in the field. There's also what we refer to now as deficiency history. So really being able to know like where the deficiencies are, what they're linked to, what's happened with the deficiencies, who's updated them, etc. There's also going to be an update to the linking proposals to deficiencies. So last month we did cover our new proposals update, so proposals 2.0. But in this update, we really show how and what deficiencies are on what proposals. So I'll show you that as well. And then there's just a slight update to the deficiency screen. So I just wanted to go over that with you and just go over what some of the icons are. So why did we focus so heavily on deficiencies? Well, we heard a lot of feedback about just the deficiency management. And we really wanted to help cut down on the time that was spent tracking down the deficiencies and where they are in the process, right? A lot of time is spent. They're very important to keep track of, but there's a lot of time spent knowing where they are. Have they been added to a proposal? Is it an existing deficiency? Is it the same as before? How many do I have open? So we wanted to help sort of cut down on that time spent managing them. We also listened to a lot of feedback that we got from technicians about linking deficiencies. So if a deficiency was already identified, being able to roll over some of those notes. So now we have the ability to link existing deficiencies to newly identified deficiencies if it's the same deficiency. And then essentially, we want to be able to help track the deficiencies from the origin date, so when they were originally identified, to when they were added to a quote or proposal, to when they're in the process of being repaired, all the way through to when that invoice is sent for the repair of that deficiency and kind of what went into taking care of that. So I'm going to kind of jump into it. I'm going to start on the iPad and show you the updates that we have for the technicians in the field. And then I'm going to jump into the back end and I'll show you what you can do based on what you can see on the iPad. So let me just pull up my iPad. And on my screen right here, you're going to see my iPad. And I'm going to go into Jennifer's test building and start the inspection. Now, just like in our previous releases, we still have that deficiency icon in the upper left-hand corner. So if we tap onto that icon, we do see all open deficiencies here, the original date that it was identified, and then the resolution status or its current status that it's in. This still is going to remain the same, so you can still come up into this area and resolve the deficiency and update the status and do whatever. But the big update that we did was at the question level, we now give a visual cue of that deficient question. So in my instance here, I do not have a default on my question type, which is why you do not see a yes, no, NA or anything selected. But what I do want to show is down here in this fire department connections area, there's now a deficiency cue. Now, this is a visual cue that we give to the technicians in the field that basically lets them know that this question is deficient. It's an open deficiency on this building. Now, they still have to mark it deficient this inspection, right? This is just letting them know that it's open. But if they tap it because it is still deficient, then what we are going to do is still mark that question as deficient, but we're going to click details. And now you still have the ability to add notes and internal notes, but because this is an existing deficiency, in the deficiency box located right below, we're going to see link existing deficiency. Now, this is important for the technicians to do because basically it's the same deficiency, same question. Instead of opening up 5, 6, 7 different deficiencies because it's the same question, we're going to link them together. We're still going to keep a record of every date that it was identified, but we're linking them together. They're essentially the same deficiency. So we're going to link the existing deficiency. We're going to tap onto the question because that's what we want to link, and we'll see a blue checkbox appear. We'll tap save, and now we'll see the notes that were originally added to this deficiency when it was originally sent back, as well as the original internal notes. Now, the technician in the field can add to these notes if they want. They can also remove the notes and add new ones. They can also take updated photos. What we're going to do is we're going to click save and go about the inspection as normal. Same thing, I scroll down a little bit further. I see a visual cue that there is an open deficiency at this question on this building. It is still deficient, so I'm going to mark no. I'm going to tap details, and I'm going to link this deficiency with the originally identified deficiency. I'll scroll down. I'll link the existing deficiency, tap it till I see the blue check mark, tap save, scroll up, and I see the original note that was added. From there, if I needed to add additional internal notes, if I wanted to take a photo, I could. Now, you will only see this linking option if it is an existing deficiency. So what I mean is, if I identify this question here as deficient, and I tap onto details to add additional notes, you'll notice I will not see the link to existing deficiency because this is a brand new deficiency. However, if I open this and next time I go out to do the inspection, it's still open, it's unresolved, then I will see the ability to link the deficiency. Now, we also don't only do this for the general questions. We will do and give these visual cues for items, and I'll just back out and I'll jump into the system. So you will see the visual cues for all the yes, no, and A questions, right? Anything that was marked deficient, basically anything that was flagged no. But we will also indicate if a valve previously failed, right? So there is an open deficiency at this valve. So I have a visual cue here that this valve failed. If I was doing a fire alarm inspection, I would have the ability to click into the fire alarm and see any devices that failed, any system questions that failed previously that are still open and unresolved. The same thing goes for E-lights and exit signs. So if I tap onto my fire extinguishers, I do not necessarily see a visual cue here on this main screen. But if I go ahead and I tap inspect next to it and I scroll down to my questions, I will see the visual cue of the exact question or questions that failed this deficiency or failed this extinguisher before and that are still open unresolved deficiencies at this fire extinguisher. So if I wanted to, again, I could tap no. I will tap details. I will link the existing deficiency. I will tap save. I will see my note appear, and I will tap save. Now, what I can do is I'll send this inspection back like normal, right? Really, the big thing with this is just linking and the visual cue. The submitting back the inspection is still the same. You still are indicated your deficiencies on the building so you can let your customer know about it. So we'll just go ahead and send this inspection back to the office. Now, if I jump in to the back end of Inspect Point here into our staging environment, and I navigate over to this Deficiencies tab on the left sidebar, and I search for my building, I now see all open deficiencies at this building. Now, before I jump into it, you'll notice that over here it no longer says like edit or resolve. Basically, these buttons here will indicate what those different actions are. And now if you do hover over them, it will give you a preview of what it is. But essentially, this checkbox here, this red checkbox means resolve. The little box next to it means edit. And then the little trash can next to that means delete. So this is how you will maintain your deficiencies. But essentially in the back end here, what you're seeing is the deficiencies for this building. Now, what I want to show you is the history of what's going to happen now that these deficiencies have been linked. So if I actually locate this, are the FDC caps and plugs in place? And I navigate over to the edit building or the little edit icon on this deficiency, and I tap onto that, you're now going to see on this right-hand side of this screen a full history of what has happened to this deficiency from the moment that it was originally identified and sent back to the office. So we see that it was changed to critical and it was originally identified by Jennifer on 3/18. Since then, the status was changed to new. It was reported as a deficiency again by Jennifer. The status was changed for out for quote, and it was added to a proposal. Now, this is big because, and also the big thing too is we did have a webinar on our proposal 2.0 where we do kind of go over how to add a proposal or add a deficiency to a proposal. So I will kind of go over that quickly, but if you want a full rundown of the proposal update, just let me know and we can send over a recording of our webinar from last month. But we now see this is attached to a proposal. We see that it was reported as a deficiency again. And again, it was added to another proposal and it was identified as a deficiency again. And we see all of this information now per deficiency. If I go back out to that tab here, I search for my building again and I see my deficiencies for this building. I'm going to come in, I can click onto another one and I can click onto it and I'll see this one doesn't have as much going on. This one has not been added to a proposal yet. This one has not had a lot of status changes, but it was originally identified on the 18th of March. So you will see a history of everything pretty much from the moment that it is noted and sent back to the office. Now, if I did want to add a deficiency to a proposal, then in the new proposal update, then I will basically just come in and create a new proposal. And I'll just create one really quick. Like I said, if you want a full rundown of how this works, just let me know and we can send over a recording. But we're just going to go ahead and we're going to add a deficiency to a proposal. So we're just going to go ahead and click this plus button and add that to the deficiency, or add this to the proposal, sorry. We're adding. We're going to click next. I'm going to skip over this just for time and not going to add anything to that. I'm going to click next, and I'm just going to save this proposal so I can kind of show you what's going on with these deficiencies. So I'm going to click save. And now those two deficiencies have been added to a proposal. If I navigate back over to this deficiencies tab again, I'm going to navigate back over there a lot. I'm going to go back into this test building, navigate back down to those two deficiencies that I just added to the proposal. I click onto the edit icon so I can see the history, and I can see that it was added to a proposal today. At what time? At 10:16 a.m. So I will know. I can go ahead and then if I'm like, what proposal was that on? Has anybody viewed it? Has it been accepted? What's the status of it? You can go ahead and click on proposal. And then you'll be able to see the proposal that was sent to the customer. And then you'll also be able to, from this screen, see a timeline of what has happened at this proposal. So we will see right now that it has just been created, but we will also see at this timeline every time that the customer has clicked on it to view it, if the proposal has been accepted and who it was accepted by. We'll see that in that notes area. So if I were to actually go back to the deficiencies area here and click on to a different deficiency, I can come here and click on maybe this original proposal that was added to, and I can see a little bit more information, right? So I can see from this proposal, it was created, it was sent, it has not been viewed, but at the time that it was created, it was changed to the status of out for quote. So really what I'm trying to show, and I hope this was helpful, is that the history of what's going on, being able for you guys to quickly be able to see that information, as well as, especially when it comes to proposals, with the technicians being able to link the deficiencies, you will no longer see, are the FDC caps and plugs in place, 10 times if it's been unfortunately identified and has not been reviewed or resolved, per the customer. You won't see that 10 times. You would see it one time with 10 dates that it was identified, and you would have a record of every proposal that you've sent, etc. So I'm just going to jump back in here to the presentation and just wanted to talk really quick just about some key takeaways. So I know I kind of didn't get into a lot of the other stuff for 3.6, but there is a lot more coming out. This is really the big major focus of it. So I really wanted to make sure that I spent a lot of the time focusing on the deficiencies. Another reason why I really wanted to focus on the deficiencies is because this 3.6 release, and most specifically this deficiency updating and linking and history, is really leading the way and paving the way for features like re-inspections, for multi-tech, for service, being able to link things together and store information and share information. That's really what we needed to lay the groundwork in order to be able to do re-inspections, multi-tech, and service. And the other thing is that we are listening to you. So every time that you submit a feature request, or anytime you have any questions about anything and you request, hey, I'd really love it if it could do this. We do listen to every feature request. We do add every feature request to the backlog. And while we can't always promise that everything will be added, we do evaluate every feature request that comes in the door. So if you have any ideas or anything like that, any features you'd like to see, while support is a great way to let us know about that, we also have a dedicated email that just handles our feature requests. So if you have any of those requests, just email features@inspectpoint.com and we will get those features added to the backlog. And then basically when and if we are able to get those added, we will always follow up with you to give you a timeline of what release it's going to be a part of, if there's any more information we need or anything. So with that, I wanted to know if there was any questions. So I don't see any questions currently in the chat box, but does anybody have any questions about the deficiency update, the linking on the iPad, what it's going to look like in the back end? Any questions that anybody can think of? I'll give us a couple of minutes if you need to type anything. Okay, well, I don't see any questions coming in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop there then. And what we're going to do is, if you think of any questions after the fact, right? Oh, we got a question. Hold on. Yes. So the question is from Melissa. The question is that you hinted that this is leading to adding service to InspectPoint, correct? And yes, we are currently working on our service offering. So we are about a month and a half out from having something that is a very beta type version of service. So do keep your eyes peeled for that. But yes, we are leading towards service. So we will soon be offering inspections as well as a light service offering, basically for work orders and service tickets. Any other questions that we might have? All right. Well, like I was saying, if you think of anything after the fact, just let me know. Um, oh, yay, we've got more questions. Hold on. um, From a design question, why is the resolution check mark colored red and not green? That's a good question. I can go ahead and ask the tech team about that, why they went with red instead of green. If it makes more sense to switch it to green, we might be able to, but that's definitely something I can check on for you. Um, and then Christine asked, there is a way, you mentioned that there is a way to reinspect. Will that also allow me to use another tech? Yes. So the reinspect is going to be, if you have to do if you do an inspection, you go do service work and you have to do a reinspection of it. Basically that's what that is. We are working on the multi-tech, which will basically allow you to schedule more than one tech to a job at one point. So I think what you're looking for is probably that multi-tech. And we've had a lot of requests for that. And we're probably going to be adding that. Yes, yes, yep, that's it. We're going to be adding that probably in our 3.7 or our 3.8 iPad release. So that's coming shortly, and you'll be able to assign more than one tech pretty soon to an inspection. You're welcome. Any other questions anyone can think of? These are good questions. All right, perfect. Okay, well, then what we'll do is, like I was said beforehand, if there's any questions that come up after the fact, I will be, and I did record today's training, so I will send around a copy of today's training. So feel free to pass it along to anybody else in the office that couldn't make it today, or maybe anybody who you think this might be helpful for them. If you think of any questions, email support@inspectpoint.com. If you think of any great feature requests, email features@inspectpoint.com. And I just want to thank you guys again for taking the time out of your day to meet with us. And we will be doing these every month. So do keep your eyes peeled for next month's webinar. I believe we're going to be doing notifications, but do keep your eyes peeled as we kind of go over features every month. So once again, thank you so much for joining and have a great day.